Hi, I'm Aaliyah Woods, co-founder of Commonwealth Urban Farms. So today I thought for a change of pace I'd show you my garden, my home garden. After farming at Commonwealth for 8 or 9 years now, this year I'm finally getting back to having a home garden. I've been too busy focusing on Commonwealth for the last few years. So I'm super excited about having a home, my very own garden again. So my neighbor generously is letting us use her front yard, and I've got 3 raised beds in so far, 3 more to come. So then we'll have the whole front yard in raised beds, and I've got a whole rotation plan and everything already figured out on the computer. Over the winter we planted cover crops in the front yard here to help improve the soil, as we usually do during the winter. So we planted Austrian winter peas and winter rye and crimson clover. I've scythed them down, so it'll make it easier now to pull them out. And it's a little bit of work to pull them out, but if you use a garden fork or a shovel, that loosens it up. And definitely do it either after it's rained, a couple days after it's rained, or after you've watered it to make the roots come up more easily. And then I'll compost the cover crops and put that compost back in the garden once it's finished. So one of the tricks with raised beds is coming up with enough soil to fill them, good quality soil. One of the advantages of raised beds is that you are creating the soil so you can really go for the best, and you will get notably better results with really high quality soil than if you just use the heavy red clay that most of us have in our front yards and backyards. So we already have pretty good soil here because we've been gardening here for some years and improving the soil every year, growing cover crops and adding compost. But I went ahead and got some compost from Commonwealth, some of this beautiful worm compost that we have, and added that, topped off the beds with this great compost. So I have a beautiful planting surface here. I'm going to plant corn today. Now, we are supposed to get a light freeze in a couple more days. They're predicting down to 31 degrees. That's the prediction. It could be that it doesn't freeze, or it might get a few degrees colder. But I'm going to go ahead and plant the corn now because, in my experience, the earlier you can plant the corn, the better of a harvest that you'll get. You can't plant it too early. The soil needs to already be warming up. If the soil is cold, corn seed usually won't germinate very well. So this is a variety called Incredible, which is my favorite kind of sweet corn. And corn seed is nice and big. It's easy to see and easy to plant. I'm going to plant mine 12 inches apart in each direction. That's much closer than people normally plant corn, but because we're using such a fertile, loose, rich soil, I think it will do fine. So I'm going to start 1 row. This is a 4-foot wide bed, so I'm going to do 4 rows, 12 inches apart. And I'll just make a little ditch. And I'm going to use my yardstick to make sure I drop them a foot apart. And I'm actually going to do 2 seeds, just in case I don't get 100% germination on every one. And then just gently cover it over. You only need to cover it maybe half an inch or an inch at the most. And then I'm going to put down some straw to cover that seed. Just a light bit of straw. Corn seeds are big, and corn seedlings are relatively hardy in the world of seedlings. A lot of seedlings are just tiny little delicate things, but corn comes up with a hardier little stalk. So I can put a little bit heavier covering of straw over it than I would if I was planting something like snapdragon seeds that are tiny, tiny, tiny. And then water it in. I have a watering can here that I like to use. This is a great nozzle on it, or a rose rather. Or you can use a hose. If you use a hose, it's important not to water it too heavily, too forcefully. So put a nozzle on it. These kind of breakers are really great because they do reduce the water pressure, so it's not coming out so strongly. When you water like directly from the hose, it can come out really strong and push the seeds around, and the seeds don't stay where you planted them. So water it in well. And if the plants were already up, like say if I had planted tomatoes already or something else that's sensitive, I would definitely cover them with plastic before the anticipated freeze in a couple nights. we're having warm days now, so if it just dips down to below freezing and then warms back up during the day, you really can protect your plants very effectively by just covering them with maybe some wire hoops. 9-gauge wire works well. Just put some wire or even a bucket on top of your plants and then put plastic over it so the plastic isn't directly touching the leaves of the plant, because that's where the plastic directly touches them, the freeze can still damage them. And hopefully this will be our last freeze or freeze warning, and then we'll be good to go for the spring. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. Happy gardening.